live. Thank you very much. Appreciate this, everybody. So, Tesla investors have questions about Tesla's future. Next Tuesday at July 23rd, that's when Tesla's going to have their earnings call. And they've just recently opened up the Say Technologies platform. So now, if you're a Tesla investor, you can come in there and ask questions. I've got a list of the top 10 questions currently today. This will change in order as the days go on, but it's still a good way to know and ask what are the questions that Tesla investors are asking. Welcome, Brian. We're co-streaming on your channel as well at Future Ozza.
It is a treat, as always, to be here and to have you on my channel as well. Every quarter, these questions come around, and sometimes we get some really good gems in there, and sometimes we get the opposite of that. Some of the same questions over and over that have already been answered, and you have to look at them. And I know they're all anonymous, but I just feel like a bunch of them are Gary Black.
No. The institutionalists get their chance to ask their questions directly. This is the retail investors, that's for sure. Let's start with the first one. This is the one that's voted the most currently today, just opened up yesterday. So like I say, it's going to change. The number one questions, Tesla usually answers the top 10 questions, and they do it based on which questions got the most votes. And it's not the number of votes, it's actually the number of shares represented. That's the one that tells you which is number one. And right now, this is the first question. When exactly is the Robotaxi event, if not 8/8? So
it is a fine question.
Yeah.
I'd say absolutely. It is not Q2 earnings related, but it is absolutely, this is just tell us anything. Tell us in which country it will be held, because I've heard rumors that it would make more sense to hold it at Giga Shanghai because of the AI, the robotics, the FSD regulations there. I've heard that it could be in the north of California, where a lot of where Fremont and a lot of the FSD testing is done. I've heard it could be done at the design studio in Southern California. Mm-hmm. Just give us an eye. And of course, Texas is a very likely candidate, the most likely, I believe. I had people telling me you should just buy your tickets now and see where the cards fall.
And also,
well, but I think it's a fair question.
It's a great question, of course, in the sense that Robotaxi is the most important event for Tesla. It represents a change in the business from an auto business to an autonomous robotics AI company. So asking when 8/8, they'll answer it. I'm pretty certain that they'll answer that.
I think so.
Yeah. So I don't even know if you need to wait for this question, but I wanted to pause here and ask you, when do you think, what question are you asking? Did you submit a question? Because I did.
Oh, I haven't. I usually wait to see what questions are asked, and I usually find ones that are better than mine, so I just vote on those instead. But yeah, I try also, I don't put my wish list questions on. I put my earnings, it's earnings questions. I try and keep it on task, because even though I do a lot of things that aren't good for business, and that's one of them, is following that particular rule. But my question would be, what is the gross margin on Megapex?
Yeah. Okay. Because that's a very good question.
Yeah. And my follow-up would be, what kind of residual income streams should we expect from Megapack?
Very good question. I love it. That is dead on. I love that because it's so relevant. It's so important. My question's on the bot. I want to know, how many bots will they make next year? They said thousands, maybe 1,000 or even a few thousands. And then whether or not they're going to use it all of them for Tesla only, or will they sell it? I just think that, of course, the bot, as much as Robotaxi is going to change what Tesla represents, the bot's going to do it one more time. It's bigger than Robotaxi. But
my follow-up to your question would be, is Gen 3 Optimus production intent?
Yeah.
Is this the it?
So I think it is, because he has previously made a comment before where he said that typically it takes 3 revisions to get it right, to get it perfect. And it sure feels like to me that, and then when you hear them say that after the a major hardware revision, which will happen by the end of this year, we will have 1,000 or 2,000 next year. right? 1,000 or a few thousand. So that tells me that it's ready enough to scale. It won't be the final version. They will make new ones, but this is
Of
worth
course.
it to get a couple thousand out. Okay, so back to Robotaxi event. I actually have a prediction. In mine, this one I don't have a lot of conviction on. I think it's going to be in Giga Austin. But I think that LA, a few people have talked about this. I think LA could be a perfect place to maybe not do the actual event, but to launch it. Like they'll go the first place that will do it. A true Robotaxi, commercial program will be in LA. It makes so much sense to me because it's a car, highly populated. It takes you hours on an Uber to drive from one place to another. It takes hours, right? It's like it's soul sucking traffic. It's like there's no other place on earth except for maybe, I don't know, China or India that's soul sucking traffic as LA. So he's been there. He knows how terrible it is. You can't use Uber as much as you can in other places. And there's no rental cars. The rental cars are absolutely all booked. I just booked a budget rental car and LAX, waited 2 hours to get in the budget rental car around LAX, and then another 30 minutes for us to actually get a car. And we're all the whole time going, why don't we just do an Uber? But Uber, we'd have to, every time it's an hour long each trip. And so it was worth waiting for them. Anyways, that's my prediction. It could be actually LA as a first place. The only thing that doesn't make sense anymore is that, he doesn't want to have anything to do with California as much as he can anymore. So it's probably going to be Texas.
Or Phoenix. We know it's an easy city in which to operate for something like that. Waymo's been doing it for ages, and I think Cruise had expanded there, but the streets are not as congested. They're well laid out. They're wide. It's so. Next question.
Next question. So this is the first question. When exactly is a Robotaxi event, if not 8.8? The second question is, when do you expect the first Robotaxi ride? So again, 727,000 Tesla shares represented. It is about Robotaxi again.
I'm just going to say right now, we are off to a good start. I have seen so many terrible questions. So first of all, I think this is an impossible question. I don't think we're going to get an answer to it, but I think the question is on everyone's mind.
What do you mean? What do you mean? They're not going to answer this question on the Q2 earnings call on Tuesday. This is a question that's going to be answered at the Robotaxi event, which was going to be 8.8, but now some future event.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's on everyone's mind. And it's an impossible question because,
they'll answer.
Yeah.
This one, they won't. Not at this event.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I still think it's I still like it. I'm not going to vote for it, but
investors want this question answered. Again, tells you this is the most topical, most important topic for Tesla right now is Robotaxi. Oh, this is right up your alley, Brian. What is the updated timeline for Giga Mexico, and what will be the primary vehicles produced initially? 658,000. It's funny that they asked this question. That's third. So first of all, people should know that Brian right now, Mr. Brian White, YouTube super personality, is actually in Mexico right now. He's in Monterrey. He's on the site of Giga Mexico. He's the only YouTuber I know that actually travels so often to get on site to do investigative journalism. He's doing right now. And so this question about Giga Mexico, the timeline and primary vehicles produced initially, I told you, like, I thought Giga Mexico is out of sight, out of mind. Nobody cares about it right now, but it came out to be number 3.
And I'll take all the credit for it because I will say that after I put out the video, a lot of people said I had forgotten. Of course, that's not the reason it's a top question, but I'm going to pretend it is because it makes me feel good deep down inside. The site is less level than I realized. It is much rockier than I realized. That presents different obstacles, but nothing that can't be overcome. It can absolutely work. What is the delay? I'm confident the delay is the new direction of the company. If the company was just saying, no, we're still going to just be really primarily a car company. The next thing is the compact. It's going to be the same thing, but smaller. This would already be underway. I think what we're going to learn at the Robotaxi event is the new pivot. And I think there's a lot of, it could be anything. It's a big box with a question mark on it, and I'd like to know what's in it. So what will it primarily produce? I'm going to assume robotaxis, unless I hear otherwise. It could be a robotaxi variant with a steering wheel, meant for South American markets, meant for smaller markets where it'll take longer to get autonomy approved. In those markets, maybe we still want to sell cars.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I was going to ask you this question. Obviously, Tesla's going as much as they can full in on robotaxis. They're going to reveal the robotaxi first design vehicle in the next several months here. How much can Giga Texas produce of robotaxis? And how many years of supply could they do, right? Like, they're not going to do 1 million in the next year or two. So then why would they then need Giga Mexico to do that?
I think Texas could easily produce 250,000.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of vehicle where if it works, they're going to need millions. So I think what they'll do is validate the design and manufacturing in Texas, and then just scale it up, maybe do parallel lines running in Mexico or India
unbox
or
model,
China.
dude, there's no lines.
Yes. I mean,
Gotcha there.
I think you know perfectly well what I mean. So there is, well, and a good thing, because the shape of the property is not traditional. People who'd watch my videos are asking, well, is it going to take a year to level it, 2 years? And what I mentioned to you on a video that will be coming out, I think today or tomorrow on your channel, is that what it looks more like to me is that they might terrace the property. They might have a flat level that's actually floor 5 or 6, and everything below it is just partial floors that go only to the back edge of the hill, and that would dramatically reduce the grading time to kind of almost nothing, because you just basically sink your pillars wherever you need them, and then you've just got a minimal amount of land clearing that you could handle relatively easily compared to blasting.
And that could work for an unboxed model. So they could probably just go ahead and do that.
Certainly. Even if those lower floors are just empty, it would probably be cheaper than grading.
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense that they're going to, oops, I already jumped to the next question. Here we go. Updated timeline for Giga Mexico. What would be the primary vehicles produced? Again, I think, well, I don't know that they'll announce this on a investor day, but if it goes up high, they'll have to answer it. They might have to say.
I mean, they don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But their answer could just be that's a forward-looking statement. We're talking about Q2 here. Gotcha.
And that the primary vehicles is most likely Robotaxi, because, or the bot, by the way. It's not likely going to be the new affordable models, because those are based on the existing production lines, and it's unlikely at this point that Tesla will continue to build factories for existing production lines. Do you agree or not agree?
If they're not going to make a compact drivable car at all, an intermediate compact could absolutely be built here, because Mexico has twice as many free trade agreements as the US, and specifically they have these trade agreements with countries that we do not, throughout Latin America, throughout Southeast Asia, in markets that have a real hunger for a more affordable car.
Yeah. Okay, so it could possibly be just a little, I mean, if it's a more affordable car, then they'll want to sell a lot of it, and so maybe it could still have some of that. Okay, yes. Maybe one of the terraces is a production line, and you're right after all. Ha ha ha.
To be determined.
Next question here is ranked high. Is what's the current status of 4680 battery cell production, and how's the ramp up progressing? I'm shocked that this is asked. I thought it was already answered at the last Q1. They did a fantastic job answering this question. Why is it asked again?
Because I'd still like to know the answer. We know that new 4680 production from, who is it, LG or Panasonic? I think LG will be arriving at Giga Texas soon to improve the throughput of Cybertruck. And what would be great is if between Tesla's production and this outside production, they could stop building 2170 models of Model Y at Texas. That would free up all of those cells for use in the Semi in Nevada, because I do think that would be a use for them that they would like to see. the all of the cells used in Texas then would still be U.S. made cells, qualifying for the battery production credit. So whether it's to Tesla itself or to the company that makes them, if they get the credit, then they can sell them for less. So I think I would still like to know. We know that they were adding more lines. We know that there have been new improvements in the cell. The one that I was given by Jordan Giesecke, Sandy Monroe gave it to him. Jordan gave it to me to hand deliver to San Diego, to the lab there at UC San Diego. The cells are still improving. So not just the ramp, but the finished product itself. And we've seen that the charge curve has improved on the Cybertruck over the last month via over-the-air update. So I would like to, I think
I mean,
the question remains valid until the line is fully ramped.
yeah, I don't know if it's valid to be the fourth question. And then, like we said earlier, this is just early days. These will all move around over time before the actual event. But asking about 4680 battery cell, the reason is they answered it last quarter. And the answer that they gave was that we are not battery constrained at this point, number one. Number two, the cost of batteries have fallen so much. And combined with the fact that the other EV makers have pared down their goals, and so there's much more supply available from everybody, right? LG, Panasonic, and others. And so
Yes.
there's not the pressure for Tesla to create a 4680 battery that meets what they initially promised has fallen. They don't need to rush to get this done anymore. That was my impression that I got.
But not all cells are created equal, and not all cells go into a Tesla, certainly not the ones built in the US. So if GM has stepped back from purchasing prismatic or pouch cells, that doesn't mean that they could just wind up in a Tesla.
Okay.
So you would need different equipment.
Next question is any update on Dojo? I love this question. I think there might be a surprise. You know how for the last several years, 6 months, a year, everybody thought that Dojo is dead. Dojo is not important. They're not succeeding. We're starting to hear more and more signals that Dojo is actually in production, number one, but also being effective and successful and important. I mean, even Kathy Wood of ARK Invest kind of hinted that there could be a surprise with Dojo. But so yeah, asking the question is very valid, especially since everything right now is around AI and data centers and chips.
Yeah.
So if they show, this is like the biggest topic, this is the most important topic for Tesla or any other tech company right now. Tell us about your access to chips, to data centers, to compute. And if they can show Dojo's actually ramping, it's actually effective for certain kinds of compute processing, this could be very important for Tesla, the business. So I'm excited to understand more where this is at.
And earlier in the chat, David Huber had asked progress on Dojo 2. And while I don't think that question would be necessarily raised, it is my understanding
why
that...
not?
Why?
That's a great question.
Well, no. Oh, it is a great question. I just don't think it's going to be in enough people's minds to raise to the top of the say questions. And I think that it would be my understanding from talking with a senior chip designer at IBM is that as soon as Dojo 1 was completed, Dojo 2 began. And when I say completed, I don't mean implemented. I mean design locked, which was years ago, which meaning Dojo 2 is right around the corner behind it, maybe a year or two behind. So Dojo 2 is, while we don't have confirmation, it would be implausible to believe that they do not have a Dojo 2 already well under development.
So it's a valid question.
Oh, yes. I just don't think it's one that's going to come up. Hope that helps, David.
I disagree. I think the Tesla investors are a little bit more sharper than you're giving them credit for.
Well, I think there's too many good questions and that you can't possibly get to them all.
Is right at the top because, like I said to you, everybody understands that AI, NVIDIA, they want Tesla to become an NVIDIA. So I mean, not that this will make them an NVIDIA, but it's like a, a
And
baby
well, and
NVIDIA.
this is an earnings question because it has to do with your financial outlay for other people's products versus ones made in house and what the benefit of that actually is.
Yeah. I like that question. Okay. Next question. I don't know why it's here. What's the schedule for the Tesla van? Now, I guess when I look at this, it could be associated with Robotaxi. There's this belief, I think very valid, that the unboxed model, you and I have had many shows on this, and we've had this discussion. I think I was one of the early ones who was saying that it's not
The
going to
first
be one
I
vehicle.
heard.
It wasn't going to
Yeah.
be one vehicle. It's going to be a platform. And this platform allows you to, like Legos, create multiple variations of a car and or vehicle, right? So sometimes you want a 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, 8-seater. You can just go ahead and put middle parts because that's what Unboxed model sets up. So maybe a Tesla van will be there. But yeah,
I
I'm
think,
just-
yeah. What's the schedule for Tesla van? Well, it stops at the library at 10. I don't know, man. I don't know.
oh, how your mind works, Brian. All right, dude.
Well, it's so the thing with the van is they're going to need a shuttle for the Boring Company. They're at some point going to want to make cargo vans to get into that segment.
They're gonna make a van, no
Cities,
problem.
yes, they're going to make one. But yes, when I don't know. That would be a product announcement, and I don't
Yeah.
expect that on the earnings call.
Now, yeah, okay. Again, I think people think that in that image where they covered it up of the upcoming vehicles, there's one that looked like a van because it's kind of like this boxy thing.
Well, it's a sheet, so I thought it looked like a ghost.
I have been saying that that's actually the Robotaxi and that it could be a multi-person Robotaxi that's going to look like a London cab, but people assuming that that was the van. But okay, the van.
It could be anything. It could also
Could be
just be
anything.
a placeholder that isn't representative of the actual shape.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. So these are good. I think at this point, we're none of them were dumb. Let's put it that way. Well, Robotaxi, another Robotaxi question. Fantastic. Be available
Yeah.
for individual customer ownership as a profit-generating venture. And would Tesla roll this out immediately, or would Tesla own the vehicles? Again, you're going to ask this question on the Q2 earnings call. This will be answered at the Robotaxi event. Now, Elon
Some people
has
just can't
stepped up,
wait.
but Elon has stepped up and he said, well, it's going to be like Airbnb. It's going to be like Uber. So maybe he might share a few more little details. Will Robotaxi be available for individual customer ownership as a profit-generating venture? So are you going to sell the Robotaxi first design vehicle? And would Tesla roll this out immediately, or would Tesla own the first vehicles?
Yeah, huge
Okay.
questions. I feel like they would need to make an entire presentation about that, perhaps on October 8th.
Well, it's not.
It's a great question. I want the answer to be, I want to know the answer as well, but
Yeah.
I think we have to wait for Christmas to
Well,
come.
this
early.
shows you that the investors, the retail investors specifically, are very much focused on Robotaxi. They want to know the answers. So the disappointment that it's not happening in 8-8, it's going to be like, okay, we have to wait a little bit longer before we get the answers. But when they give these answers, when they're much more precise about that this is a business, this is the time frame, this is the model, here's going to be able to what we're going to sell, what we're not going to sell, here's our partners maybe, even if it's just simply as who's going to be the fleet managers. That's what the world investors, both institutional investors, by the way, not just retails, looking for. And then they'll start pricing it in the stock. That's when they'll start to think about it, because right now it's just so we don't know exactly.
It's too far out there. So Matt in the comments had a great question. I'd ask him what their plan is for powering the new data center. I expected some news, and all I hear is that the building's almost done. I had a chance to talk with a couple different power plant engineers on my recent road trip, where I showed them the power demands for year one and eventual, and it is a eye-watering amount of power that they need, like small city amounts of power. And I asked, well, can't they just get it from the grid? And the short answer is yes, but that would drive up everyone's prices because it would have to go high enough to make people stop using power somewhere else. And the answer is The answer I got was that they would need to find someone willing to put that much power into the grid for them to pull it out at the other end. And that may mean finding mothballed power plants that need to be recommissioned or building new capacity. But yes, I would like to know the answer from Tesla on that as well. Is
Which one are you talking about? You're talking about Giga
the data
Mexico or-
center?
Oh,
The data center in
Giga,
Texas.
Gotcha. Well, pretty obvious to me what's going to happen.
Let's hear it.
Well, there's a thing called megapacks.
Right, but those
There's
don't
a thing
produce
called
power.
so-
Those just
there's going to
hold
be
it.
it's going to be solar power panels.
Okay.
There's going to
They
be
don't
solar
have enough
farm.
acres. I mean, they'll have to
maybe
build
they might announce it to you.
that. Then please do. That's what we're talking about.
This is another one of those things that everybody laughs at me for because I keep saying that the three pillars of Master Plan Part 3, the first pillar was energy generation. So
Okay.
are we saying that Elon will never do energy generation or it's not his top priority? Of course it is. He's mentioned several times that if you just take, and I can't remember their exact numbers. Do you remember? It's like 100 miles by 100 miles.
Right. It's something
Location.
like that.
Can power of solar farm can power the whole U.S. or something like that. So it's a very tiny little amount. Why do people think that Tesla will not get into solar farm? They keep saying that it's a commodity, it's a low
'Cause
margin.
it's a commodity.
They can just
'Cause
buy
it
it
is
from
low
other
margin.
people.
I mean, those are
Stop
the
it.
answer. They want 20% on everything they do, and they can't get it doing that.
It's not for sale. This is for them to use for their mega packs, for their and for just their own use, and maybe to power countries in the future. But it's okay.
And remember,
Anyway.
solar panels just got slapped with a massive, massive tariff if they come from China, which all of them do. So that's not encouraging.
Okay, well,
Oops.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Come on, it
telling
makes
you, man.
so much sense.
Well, okay.
I mean, the only other thing would be that Elon says, I'm going to build a nuclear power plant, which he's not against. He says these things work. So,
They do work. They just take an amount of time that would not be appropriate for them to get the data center running.
yeah. All
They
right.
they would need something much
Maybe he has
faster.
a deal with Texas. And
He's discussions are certainly underway. I would be shocked to discover that discussions are not. They know how much power they're going to need
yeah.
very
And
soon.
one way they could do it, did you see that you and I just did a show where Tesla Energy sent a post out saying that 7,000 Texas homes in Texas have power walls and it saved them something like 800,000 hours. Something like that, right?
200,000, I think, was what the number was. It was something huge
Big
that
numbers
it kept them
because of
and
the hurricane.
yeah.
That knocked out the
thank
power
you.
for 6 days straight, right?
Yeah, in some places. And thank you for keeping my baby in a safe climate. It's
Yeah. So maybe what Tesla would do is, okay, well then I'll give power walls to as many Texas homes. In exchange, I get the data, the power for my data center. I don't know. I mean, they'll have to come up with some way, right? We're
have to
just
come up with something.
all right. Next question. I'm shocked it took this long. Me, but I guess no one else is. It's about Optimus. Finally, when do you expect Optimus to be available for purchase? Good question.
Yeah.
Because I think they alluded that they will have 1,000 next year, maybe a few thousand next year, and then that they will use it for their own use. But they didn't exactly say no that they won't sell it, but they kind of alluded that it won't be for sale in the next year or two.
Yeah.
What was your interpretation of all that?
So I think the reason it's so far down the list is because all the talk over the last week or two has been about the Robotaxi event. I think we haven't seen any recent. If they had dropped an Optimus video or two a week ago, I think all of the top questions would be Optimus related. When will it be available for purchase? I think the better question is, will it be available for purchase, or is it just something you lease? Because
What?
I can see.
No, he answered it.
Oh, okay.
No, he
Because-
answered that question.
yeah.
He said that it's going to be both. We're going to available for
Okay.
lease and for purchase, but we're going to start with lease first.
Okay. So that, especially when you're still working out the bugs, it makes a lot of sense to just lease, because
Yeah.
if for any reason it will just take care of it. Yeah, when will it be available? I would say years. Like you said, next year it'll be deployed in a early testing, in a early but wide testing, and then after that we'll see.
The reason why this question is important is because, again, for investors, and specifically institutional investors, they want to see the business plan. They want to know, are you going to sell this product? For how much? What's your margin? What's your market, TAM, and all that? And if you don't sell it and you're only using it for internal use, then they won't even model it in at all, despite the fact that it's pretty easy to connect the dots and say that humanoid robots is going to be the biggest market available once they do start selling it, but they won't until they actually see what is the price. Even though Elon already said, right, I might be able to sell for 30, I might get 20, 10,000, still not enough. They need to actually see the whole program, the business plan.
And I agree with you on all those points. It's when you are using it in-house, it just shows up as a reduction in payroll. That's not sexy or exciting when you're talking numbers. But if you're talking real revenue, it's its own sort of line item. And I don't think you'd want to say, look at how many jobs we cut by having Optimus. I think that sends the wrong message.
So people have told me when I asked this question, when will people start valuing the value of robots, Optimus, to Tesla stock? And they say it's the day that they sell it, the day that a customer buys it, right? And again, one of the few voices who think that, imagine if you see 1,000 robots working in different jobs in Tesla's Giga, Texas, and you just pan the camera and you're watching all these robots working. You don't think that that's possibly enough to get people going, oh crap, this is real. They're doing useful work. Tesla's proving it already. They will sell it in the future. Do you need to wait until they actually sell it before that potential ChatGPT moment will come? I mean,
yes.
the argument is that ChatGPT, I know, ChatGPT, the argument is it wasn't just a demo. It wasn't just a video. It was people physically downloading the app and playing with it and answering questions and seeing it themselves. Until that happens, you're not going to get the ChatGPT moment, is what they're saying. I get that part. But can you imagine seeing 1,000 robots next year?
So I would say that in the biggest thing is when we see that demo, when we see a factory full of robots doing work, you and I will be very excited, but we're already all in. We can't go in anymore if we're already all in. It's the institutionals and the analysts, and they're going to look at that and say, yeah, but we also saw an FSD demo that wasn't real. We need to see, we need the external, like you were saying with ChatGPT. We had a discussion, you and I, on a video that hasn't come out yet about these kinds of progresses in AI, where you can show me that there was a recent one where they showed video that was rendered, that was produced from just text prompts. And I am deeply impressed. Let someone put it in their hands and type in their prompts and see what it produces. Otherwise, it's a very hand-selected, carefully curated example of what it can do on its best day. And if you look at a lot of the LLMs, you can see some really amazing work that they do, but most of the work they do I find to be breathtakingly terrible, like really, really bad. Every few months I'll pop in and try all the usual suspects, and I just get bad results and I get sad. And I think it's because they put too many guardrails in, but we'll see. So I think, Wall Street will wake up, and of course by then it'll be too late for them and their clients, which is why you and I are already as much all in as we can be.
Yeah. So I do like this question because this is the question that I submitted, but mine was like a longer paragraph. So this one got voted up higher than mine. I was asking, how many bots will you actually make next year, which they already answered. But then what percentage will you keep and use for yourself, and what percentage will you sell? And then will you sell it to suppliers, your own suppliers, which would make the most sense, right? You use it for yourself, Tesla does, and then they sell it to their suppliers, and then they sell it to other, because it's going to be limited quantity, it's going to be in high demand, and it makes them, you have a double whammy benefit, win-win-win, if you sell it to your own suppliers. Having said that, I mean, yeah, what these bot companies might do is sell it to, hotel chains and sell it to retail chains, just to show the breadth of capabilities and the demand by multiple industries. So that could also be what they do.
Yeah, all that is right. And like, what is the product mix going to be between purchase and lease? I think that's an impossible thing to guess today. I think there are too many variables that can arise between now and then, in terms of funding, in terms of capacity, in terms of just everything, in terms of the mission could shift. So yeah, I think that question is too far out to get a quality answer to today.
Okay. Well, this guy says, question number 2 is mine.
Thank you.
Question 2. When do you expect the first Robotaxi ride?
That looks like Scott. Is that Scott?
Oh, gosh. That's Scott. God, that dude. That is Scott, is it? I didn't know his
I don't know.
Baja Juicy
Baja Juicy.
Scott. I love it.
We love you, Scott.
We love you.
But if
we don't like your question.
In the outside case, that's not Scott. We still love you. So
yeah. Okay. So this question. What are Tesla's second biggest priority for the next 5 years? What is the first biggest priority? Is Robotaxi? What? Oh, no.
This is
what
a puzzle.
are Tesla's 2 biggest priorities?
Oh,
okay. He didn't put
okay.
priorities, but it's what are Tesla's 2 biggest priorities for the next 5 years? Great. Good question.
Okay.
Great question.
Better.
Should be number 1.
Yeah, it is Scott. Okay.
We'll call you Baja Juicy from now on. Scott.
I'll call you Baja Juicy because
Baja Juicy. It's juicy. I can't think of Scott as juicy. Okay. So inside. What are Tesla's 2 biggest priorities for the next 5 years? Robotaxi. No, it's robotics AI.
Oh, I was going to say revenue and margin.
What? No.
No, but
it's
that was a joke. That would be to take it.
Okay, you're joking.
To oversimplify to the point of absurdity. But yeah, I would say
they're a mission-based company.
I would say, yeah, autonomy. Yeah, autonomy and robotics, I guess.
Well, it's robotics AI because in order for autonomy and robotics to work, you need to have compute. You need data centers. Yeah. You need to have AI to powers everything. That in the real world, that's the thing about, So this transformation of the new book that Tesla's moving into, it's this, we're no longer a hardware manufacturer. We're not going to be a AI company in the real world. So,
yeah,
but that's a good question.
Yeah. Boy, they're all so intertwined. It's tough to know where to draw the lines, but yeah. All right. I don't really have
2
much
biggest
to add
priorities.
To that.
What else can they be? If it's not robotics AI.
Well, Dojo, energy.
That's robotics AI.
Well,
that's robotics AI.
Okay, then there are only 2 priorities. Tech. There you go. It's just the one priority.
Anything to do with tech. That's our priority.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing too about Tesla is they're so big and they're so multiple parts of it anymore. You don't necessarily have to have do you have to have a priority, or there's like, right? What did he say one time? There's like 20 plus startups in the same company.
Yes. And you and I did a video where we looked at we broke it down even further and determined that nearly all of them were ones that we would have sufficient confidence in to invest in separately if they
Right.
somehow were not part of the company.
Okay, this is the
So,
last question I
all
have
right.
in the list here. There's obviously more questions, but I just thought I'd stop here. Is Tesla still in talks with an OEM to license FSD? Great
Ooh,
question.
I love it. I love
Yep.
it. And my hope is the answer is yes. I think the fact that who was it that just went to vision only in China? Was it
Xiaopeng?
Xiaopeng? Yes. That opens the door that they could use Tesla FSD in the future. Why couldn't they? But who would be the first? In the U.S. market, I think pretty clear that Ford is the company that has the greatest respect for Tesla. But in Europe, I don't know if anyone's even thinking about autonomy yet because the regulations are so burdensome. And in China, if FSD is licensed and working, I think a lot of the second and third tier struggling companies would jump on an opportunity to license it as a differentiating factor because they need something to make them rise to the level of BYD.
So, okay, I think this is a very good question because obviously it's the most important thing, one of the top important things. If they can show that they can license FSD, it's a great way to show that this company is transitioning away from, not transitioning, but like the emphasis, the priority is robotaxi, not car manufacturing per se. And again, when one's does it, the others jump. But it's interesting that this was kind of phrased in a negative way. Are we still in talks? As opposed to when Elon said we are in talks and there might actually be two by the end of this year.
Is that
And
what we heard?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's what that we said, even maybe two. And then he said also that FSD 12 and 12.4 and 12.5, 12.6, they're all like incredible improvements. And so it's like the more that you get FSD to be more effective, the more likely that these licenses will happen. And so, but yes, we do want to hear this. Would they announce this before the Robotaxi event or would they wait for that? I think most people I'm talking to don't, like only a few are hoping that there would be announced at the event, but it may be that it's not ready in time. So in fact, this delay, maybe they could do it. But what a perfect place to do that announcement at the Robotaxi event. Oh, by the way, one more thing. Wouldn't that be great? One more thing. We have a partnership. And in the last couple of weeks, Ford CEO Jim Farley was interviewed, and I actually played this clip in one of my shows where he said something like, the cars we're working on now have 8 cameras. They're capturing all these data. And so people, like one person anyways from Max said, hey, did he just hint that they've partnered with Tesla? Because at this point, we don't know of any Ford that has 8 cameras. Or the 8 is so perfectly the same as what Tesla's doing. So that was one. I thought it was weak. The way he said it, what he said didn't indicate to me that it was an actual, hint. And then the other one is what you were saying was that Xiaopeng, the CEO, was here in the U.S. for several months testing out FSD. And he came with he was just saying beautiful things about FSD, how great it is, how wonderful it is. They then announced that the next car that they're releasing in Q4 this year will have vision only, no more LiDAR, and it'll be vision only. So then the question is, okay, is he copying Tesla? Or more likely, he's going to partner with Tesla? Because he spoke very highly of Tesla. Very highly.
FSD in Seattle just asked, I'd rather know what resistance Tesla's getting from partners on licensing. Why haven't they seen more enthusiasms from the legacy OEMs? In the chat there.
It's legacy OEMs. That's the key word. They're legacy OEMs.
It really is. Not invented here syndrome.
No, it's also just even if they want to, they can't. It's like they got a giant, big behemoth of an organization. They can't make decisions. They can't move fast. They can't do things like this. And so that's why they said that even if they announce an OEM license this year, it'll take them 3 years for a eager OEM is what they use the word. An eager OEM could still take 3 years for them to even launch it. So,
Well, and they would have to get the hardware in, which takes a whole generation of car. The CEO of Xiaomi also came to the U.S. to.
that's a different
You
one.
said,
Yes.
yeah,
Xiaopeng.
yeah. Well, Xiaopeng may have done it as well, but I know
Yeah.
Xiaomi did maybe a month ago came to California to get to rent a Tesla and check it out. And I thought it was weird that he chose California instead of Missouri, because Missouri is the Xiaomi state. But I just figured it was something they had to see for themselves. But they should build a factory there. It'd be hilarious. Earlier in the chat, early in the show, someone had raised a question. I tried to find it just now, but it's pretty far back, saying, what I want to know is, when can I offer my idle car's GPU time for inference compute? That's a neat question. I think that
He keeps bringing it up. Elon keeps talking about it. So let's take a quick look, just a quick scan here of the questions that are currently today, the top questions in the Say technology. These are questions that retail investors want to ask at the Q2 earnings call on Tuesday, July 23rd, which is less than a week away. And this is arranged by number of shares represented, but voting is in process right now. So if you're a Tesla owner, Tesla stock owner, please go to this to the Say and vote and try to see which ones you want answered, because they do a great job answering these questions from the retail investors. So this list will reprioritize over the next several days. But let's just take a quick look. So this is Robotaxi, 1 Robotaxi, 2 Robotaxi. That could be a Robotaxi. That's 3, 4, 1 bot, and 1 autonomous driving. So 5 questions are basically Robotaxi and autonomous driving. I saw 1 question on Optimus, and then you have Dojo, 4680 batteries, and expansion. What do you think? Makes sense?
it all makes sense to me, but I'll be very curious to see how this list shifts between now and Tuesday. And of course, we will be live streaming the earnings call on Tuesday. Stay with us for that. That'll be on at least our 2 channels, probably more channels, and then whoever the guests are. And I will possibly only be there for part of it, because I will be once again on the road, this time on the way to the X Takeover in San Luis Obispo, where Herbert and I will both be making appearances. Come find us. We'll be the ones who look like ourselves.
Okay. July 27th, 28th, that's that. So that's still a ways away. You're going to get there way early, dude. So drive slow.
Well, yes, that's true.
You're going to fly home first. Okay. Thank you so much, Brian. That was fun. These are the questions. We'll probably cover them again next Tuesday. And we'll see how they answer it, how Tesla answers them. Thank you guys very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.